Chairman Scott, Ranking Member Kane, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today about the ongoing challenges facing Navy surface shipbuilding and the solutions that could help turn things around. Let's start with the hard truth. Despite the Navy's shipbuilding budget nearly doubling over the past 2 decades, the size of its fleet hasn't grown. The Navy had roughly the same number of ships in 2003 as it does today, even though it has spent billions trying to expand. In addition, almost every surface ship is now significantly delayed. Meanwhile, our strategic competitors are rapidly building and deploying modern, highly capable fleets. The Navy simply cannot afford to continue with business as usual. For over 20 years, GAO has been reporting that the Navy's approach to shipbuilding is fundamentally flawed. We've issued 90 recommendations since 2015 alone, yet more than 60 of them remain unaddressed. And the consequences of inaction are clear: billions in cost overruns, years of schedule delays, ships that ultimately don't provide expected capability. The biggest driver of the outcomes we see are the unrealistic business cases that the Navy puts forward to support its shipbuilding programs. These business cases don't adequately reconcile what can actually be done within available resources, including technology, design knowledge, industrial-based capacity, and funding. As a result, the Navy's budget requests are founded on optimism to secure funding. Later, as business cases deteriorate and realism sets in, challenges that were predictable from the start begin to emerge. Yet the Navy continues to push forward, awarding contracts for ships that likely can't be built with the resources available. As a result, they arrive later than planned and cost far more than expected. The LCS and DDG 1000, among others, stand out as prominent prior examples of this dynamic. The question is, has the Navy learned from these past mistakes? To some extent, yes. Recent efforts incorporating more proven systems and increasing engagement with industry before contract award are steps in the right direction. But old habits die hard. Take the frigate program, for example. The Navy has already put 6 ships under contract, despite the fact that 2 key systems remain unproven and design changes have led to weight growth that threatens performance. Now, over 2 years in, construction on the lead ship has effectively stalled, with delivery delayed by at least 3 years. This isn't just a minor hiccup. It's indicative of a system where providing a capable ship to the fleet on a time is given less priority than protecting the program budget and keeping money flowing to underperforming programs under the guise of stabilizing the industrial base. This approach directly threatens the Navy's ability to meet its long-term force structure goals that rely on large numbers of frigates. You might ask, is this scenario simply unavoidable? Is Navy shipbuilding just irreparably broken? The answer is no, but the Navy must break the cycle. Our work over the past 15 years, visiting and learning from leading companies around the world, including leading builders and buyers, consistently demonstrates that large, complex projects can be designed and built on schedule and within budget if the right practices are followed. These include things like, first, developing a solid business case, one that aligns technology, design knowledge, funding, industrial-based capacity, and time before committing to construction, then continuously evaluating that business case is maintained. Second, adopting iterative approaches that include developing and refining designs and cycles using knowledge gained from testing, validating, and obtaining user feedback. Third, improving collaboration by streamlining decision-making. And finally, strengthening in-house expertise and investing in modern ship design capabilities and digital tools to better execute and oversee programs. These approaches enable leading shipbuilders to develop complex ships in vastly shorter timeframes than the Navy and to be adaptable to evolving customer needs. And our work has shown that they can be thoughtfully applied to Navy shipbuilding. In conclusion, the Navy has much work to do to improve its practices and restore its credibility with Congress, taxpayers, and the fleet. It won't be easy, and breaking with entrenched ways of doing business requires sustained commitment over many years to see real change. Such improvements could help the Navy achieve its force structure goals faster, create stability for the industrial base, and send a clear message to potential adversaries that the U.S. Navy remains the dominant maritime force. Chairman Scott, Ranking Member Kane, and members of the subcommittee, thank you for your time and for allowing me to speak on this important topic. I'll take any questions you have.